If I come to you first, of course, Richard, not quite to be today. I mean, behind Everton, but you got back into it, you took the lead, but it wasn't in your hands, which was why it was always, I felt, going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't overly confident that we would end up winning the league tonight. Unfortunately, yeah, there was hope there. Of course there was. We was hoping for a miracle that West Ham would do something extraordinary for us, but we had to do our job today, and it wasn't pretty at times. And I think that the fact that we knew Man City were winning 2-0 quite early on, I think affected the atmosphere a little bit, affected the team. And it wasn't our best performance of the season by any means, but all we could have done today was win our game. And we managed to just about do it in the end. And it was never going to quite be enough. You felt that beforehand. And, you know, it's mixed feelings I've got, really, because obviously, you know, we've had 89 points, the second highest total we've ever got in the Premier League. Yeah. You know, we're closer than we were last season to the title. Obviously, they're all positives, but to finish second again, especially on the last day, it's really difficult. You know, it happened to us in 1999 when it was Manchester United who won the league ahead of us on the last day, and it's happened again, and it doesn't get any easier. It's probably worse, actually, in a way. Last season, although we fell away badly, it was over and done with. So the last day of the season, we could relax and just enjoy the last game, whereas today the tension was there, and yeah, it wasn't as enjoyable as it could have been, I suppose. But you know, we won the game, and I suppose that was all we could have done today. And you know, credit to Everton, they didn't just turn up and roll over. They gave us a go. They made it difficult for us. They, you know, took the lead, and it was a bit worrying at that point. But you know, we were more focused on how West Ham were doing rather than how Everton were doing or how we were doing. You know, I always felt we'd win our game anyway, eventually. It was just could Declan's old mates do him a favour, but unfortunately they wasn't able to, were they? And you know, we're second again, and it's frustrating, isn't it? But it could be worse.
It could be much worse. I mean, you're back in Europe again, and you've still got a side that is very capable too. And Richard, you and I looking down at things like the Premier League from quite an age vantage now, knowing it's, you know, there's still time and what have you for these youngsters. Matty, for you and Everton, it's been an extraordinary season. It's been one where the club and the fans, to me, have really proved what fans they are, not just on Merseyside, but the number that we've had on this show, the things that you've had to do as fans, the openness with you, everything that's been going on, the points deductions, the shock of what might happen, still, of course, with takeovers and everything still up in the air and what have you. And yet there aren't many better sets of fans, as far as I'm concerned, in the Premier League.
Definitely not. I think you're right there, Sags, with what you've said. I mean, we always say we've got the best fans in the league. All you have to do really is go and look at today. You know, last game of the season away at in London, you know, against Arsenal. Not an easy journey. And the place is full. You've got thousands of fans behind the goal. I think it's been a really testing year for us all. It's been a testing 2 or 3 years, really. It's been a difficult time to be an Everton fan, to be honest with you. You know, everything's up in the air right now. I think what we try and do as fans is we try our best not to focus on the things that we can't control. And we try and focus on what we can control. And what we can control is the atmosphere we bring, the love for the club. You know, we've always said we never support the players or the manager. Overall, you support everything about the club. You don't pick and choose. You support the badge. So I'm really proud of the team. I'm proud of the team today. I thought we played really well. You know, we didn't roll over at all. I heard a few people saying, oh, I wonder if Everton will roll over. And I thought to myself, do you know Everton Football Club? It's never happened in history. We're not going to roll over today. We've never rolled over before. Yeah, super proud of the team.
There's a bit of me this week. There's a couple of things, and I know that Twitter, X, and some of the other social media sites, and they can say what they like. Personally, as a fan of one club for the whole of my life, ever since 1964, or the first time I got to watch them live, Cambridge United, even with the likes of in the divisions that we play in, Peterborough United, I don't ever want them to win anything. And if it meant us losing and then giving them the championship, then so be it. I always want my side to win. Yeah. And I didn't quite understand that. There's a lot of the Danny Bakers and others saying, well, that means that you lot don't really understand your fan base and what have you. I think that's ridiculous. And I thought Ange was absolutely brilliant as the Spurs manager, because I thought we saw some real bottle, forget about the coaching and everything. I thought we really, he sort of says it as it was with that Arsenal's fiasco and everything that was going on. And I think for Everton, the same. Everton have had to put up with so much this season. And when you get that chance to walk to that new stadium, I think a lot of other people should be alongside that pathway clapping you in, I tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the thing, that, you know, I'm kind of the same. I mean, I'm quite a bad loser when it comes to Everton. I always want to win. Sometimes you lose the pragmatism of it, really, when a point might be a really good point, but I'm usually down. If we haven't won, it's a loss to me. But yeah, you know, you've got to be pragmatic about it. At a season, you know, I mean, this season for me, you know, I'm 25. I can't really remember many more challenging times for Everton Football Club. There was a couple, I know, in sort of the mid to late 90s. But, you know, with the points deductions and everything this year, I've always wanted to win. I never think I'll settle for a loss. But maybe that's the youth in me. Maybe when I get to your age, Sags, I'll be better at losing.
No, I can tell you won't be. You absolutely won't be. It gets worse, because I don't know if you have any superstitions, but because this season I've been able to go to nearly every home game, obviously, and stood where I used to stand 40-odd years ago before I took on this crazy job, is that I have to still... I park the car where the old man used to. I walk across the common. I have to put my hand up to the black and amber stripes on this railway bridge, and I have to touch that every time. I can't get there too early. I mustn't be there too late. I've got to stand in the same position. I think we're all the same as well, Richard, aren't we?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, obviously, we've changed stadium, obviously, a few years ago now, and you know, I had the same rituals at Highbury. You know, you go to the same places all the time, and you meet the same people, and you change ground. Although obviously we haven't moved a million miles away, it's not the same. And unfortunately, you know, time moves on, and you know, Everton's one of the last kind of those traditional Premier League grounds that's still there, and it's going to be a shame when it goes, because I've always enjoyed going to Goodison Park. I think the atmosphere is always good. And it's I like those sort of stadiums, really. It's a shame that it won't be long until there won't be any left. The Premier League will be full of these new stadiums that all look the same. And I think football would have lost something really important, which is its history. And, you know, I think that, you know, people will say, well, you know, all Arsenal have got is their history at the minute, and maybe that's true, but it's an important part for everybody, isn't it? You know, I mean, Everton have got a massive, big history in English football. You know, Arsenal the same, and I think that these traditional grounds are such a big part of it. And you're right about the superstitions, really. I think we've all got them, haven't we? And it won't ever leave you, you're right. And absolutely, losing never becomes easier. In fact, it probably makes it more difficult, you know. We haven't won the league for 20 years. And 20 years ago, I wasn't thinking about, oh, well, it doesn't matter if we don't win the league for 20 years. You don't think of that. No. But as you get older, I can't afford Arsenal not to win the league for another 20 years, because I probably won't see it. Do you know what I mean? And every season that goes by is one season less that you've got left, kind of thing. And you do think about things like that. And, you know, we've come second 2 years in a row now, and I don't want to be coming second for the next 4 years. Do you know what I mean? I want to be winning it. I want to win it again. I want to feel that again.
Matty, finally with you here. I just want to put all this into context. But one of the great things about Everton, Highbury before, possibly more the northern sides in many sides. I remember at Newcastle United and Roker Park and others, that when something happened in the week, like a new player might sign during the seasons, and we, of course, had an open transfer window in those days, or even when the new manager arrived, fans... And I know at Goodison Park, because in the 90s when I worked for Sky and we were on the road everywhere, we knew that if Everton had got a big new manager coming in or something was happening, there would be fans who'd left work, who'd done other things, and would just drift towards Goodison Park.
Yeah, absolutely. We always want to be involved, I think. You know, I can seldom think of a more exciting time around any time of being an Everton fan than when you sign that new player or that new manager comes in. Obviously, the one that springs to mind was Carlo Ancelotti. Obviously, that was unfortunately short-lived and was largely through COVID. But yeah, we always want to be involved. You know, I've found myself before, if I'm in work and there's new signings or new managers, you know, you always want to be there and be amongst it. And I think that kind of just speaks of the fan base, you know. And we were obviously talking about the stadiums before, and you know, I'm quite apprehensive, really. Obviously, Richard, you'll know it's not an easy feat just going into a new big stadium. It doesn't happen quickly. It's not going to automatically mean European football. And obviously, our biggest fear was a relegation battle and potentially the worst outcome of going into a new stadium. Thankfully, that's not happened, and thankfully we've pulled through it. And I really think it's a positive time now for an Everton fan, because you know, we look like we've got a bit of stability behind us now. Who knows what's going to happen with the takeovers? I won't speak too much on that. But I think it's really positive. You know, we all want to be amongst it. We all want to be involved, and hopefully we can move on to bigger and better things, you know.
Brilliant. Matty and Richard, summer well. I don't know if we're going to summer well with England, but they keep telling me it's one of the best squads. And you and I have seen a few good squads in that time who've never got particularly anywhere. But it's been a delight to have you both with us on the